Hey guys, welcome back to Rare Game Experiences. Now, if this is your first time here, this is where we go into rare and unique video game experiences, often ones in the arcade. And today, well, that's kind of no exception, because today we're combining a few of my favorite things. Arcade games and Star Trek. Oh yeah, I had no idea this thing existed, but it does, and honestly, I couldn't be happier. So if you have a moment, hang out, grab a drink, and sit down, as we go into the Star Trek arcade cabinet. Yeah, we're going to look at how the game played, what variants it had, and where all it got ported to, and honestly just look at how cool a game it is, so hang out for a while. Now, this cabinet was made by, well, Sega, and honestly, if you're a fan of arcades, that probably isn't much of a surprise to you. Now, they released this game in 1983, and it was obviously based off the original series starring William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, just to name a few people. The gameplay itself consisted of piloting the Enterprise itself through various different space sectors where star bases were under attack by Klingon cruisers, alien antimatter saucer ships, and Nomad itself. The player fights these threats by steering the ship with a rotary knob and by using the controls for impulse, warp drive, phasers, and proton torpedoes. Now, to take in and deal with all this information, the developers actually divided the screen into three different sections. The upper right would give you a view of what your score was, along with the shield energy shown in green, photon torpedoes shown in red, and warp energy shown in blue. The upper right would show the status of the sector itself, and the bottom, the largest part of the screen, would go to the action itself. This also wasn't the easiest game, it looks like, as the player only had one life to use and all these tools, while the other ships either return fire or colliding with the ship would cause damage. The shields would obviously take the brunt of this in the beginning, but once they're down, it only takes one or more additional hits in order to take out the shields completely and kill the player. Each stage usually had around 5 ways for the player to weather through and clear before reaching the next stage, with the game having roughly 40 stages in total. Kind of impressive for 1983. Now, all of this is actually pretty amazing for a game that came out around this time period, but not as cool as the cabinet itself. Well, okay, one of the two different cabinet types. You see, this actually came out in two different styles. One was a stand-up cabinet with a pretty normal look for the time, with a radial dial and 4 buttons, allowing you to take control of the action on the screen. And in all honesty, this is a good-looking cabinet in its own right, having enough flair and attractive enough bezel to pull most Star Trek fans in almost immediately. However, there was another version of this cabinet that came out and was far more impressive looking. Now, this is one of the main reasons this topic actually caught my attention. So that's because it's this awesome sit-down cabinet. Oh yeah, this is a Star Trek cabinet. No Trekkie alive, I think, could resist sitting down in this thing for at least one play. With a seat shaped like a captain's chair, a plexiglass top to keep out some of the glare so you could see the screen, and, well, in front of you is everything that you were seeing in the Star Trek game that's on the screen now. I mean, this is a really impressive looking cabinet. The buttons and command structure on it were similarly impressive, with the radial dial on the left arm of the seat and the buttons on the right side. So you would just plop right down in the chair and happily take control of it like you were the captain of your own ship. I would honestly happily, even today, sit down on this thing and probably lose a lot of money playing it just because I would enjoy the experience so much. All the hard work on the cabinet paid off because reception to the game was good. Good enough to see ports to, well, a lot of platforms. The Apple II, Atari 8-bit computer, the Atari 2600, somehow, along with the Atari 5200 and even the ColecoVision, just to name a few of the systems that got this game ported to it. Hell, it was so popular that Den of Geek back in 2016 even gave it the ranking of one of the top 4 Star Trek games ever made. It's a bit of a shame that modern technology, with all of it, that we really haven't seen a lot more Star Trek games. Now, that's not to say that we haven't had some, with the Star Trek MMO and Star Trek Bridge Commander being a rather impressive VR experience, to name just a few of these games, but to me at least, there's something about this cabinet from the early 80s that makes it really appealing and really tempting. However, what do you guys think of this one? Have any of you ever heard of this one before? Did any of you ever see this one in the arcade? Are any of you fans of the original Star Trek or any of the other series, and if so, which is your favorite? Are you fans of the Star Trek games, and if so, which ones? Let me know in the comments, and while you're there, if you don't mind, please leave this video a like. And if you see more of my content you like, possibly some of the stuff on the screen now, consider following the channel. That actually helps me out a ton. For now though, thank you so much for making it this far in the video and spending part of your day with me. It really does mean a lot. I hope to see you again, but until I do, have a great rest of your day, and happy gaming.